and welcome to Indus News Live from Islamabad. I'm Hira Mustafa and these are the headlines. In China, 4 workers have been rescued from a gold mine in the northern Shandok province. State media says the first person to be rescued was extremely weak and rushed to the hospital. 22 workers were trapped in the Hushan mine on the 10th of January following an explosion. In Russia, police detained thousands of protesters amid nationwide rallies in support of jailed opposition figure Alexei Navalny. His wife Yulia Navalnaya and a close aide are also among those detained. Navalny was arrested last Sunday for allegedly violating parole terms of a suspended sentence. In the United States, a Republican senator has warned the impeachment trial of Donald Trump could set a precedent of former presidents' trials. In a tweet directed at Senate Majority Leader Chuck Schumer, Don Cornyn urged to do what is best for the country. Trump is the first president in the U.S. history to be impeached twice and the first to face trial after leaving office. The U.S. has registered more than 3,300 coronavirus fatalities and over 171,000 cases overnight, with the infections tally nearing 25 million. Pakistan has reported 1,600 new infections and 48 fatalities in the past 24 hours, taking the toll to 11,295. Globally, the virus has claimed 2.1 million lives and infected nearly 99 million people so far. And in the German Bundesliga, RB Leipzig have failed to close a gap on leaders Bayern Munich after they suffered a shocking 3-2 defeat to struggling Mainz 5. Moussa Niakhaté netted twice for Mainz, followed by Leandro Barrera's winner in the second half. The loss leaves Leipzig 4 points behind Bayern on the points table with 35 points. Well, these were the headlines. News in detail coming after the short break. Stay with us. Welcome back. Now, the news in detail. In China, 4 workers have been rescued from a gold mine in the northern Shandong province. 22 workers were trapped in the Hushan mine on the 10th of January following an explosion. State media says the first person to be rescued was extremely weak and rushed to the hospital. Later, another 3 miners were brought out from a different section of the mine, including one who was injured. 1 miner has died and 11 others have not been in contact with rescue teams. Teams are still working to save the others, with officials saying earlier the operation could take weeks. The U.S. has registered more than 3,300 coronavirus fatalities and over 171,000 cases overnight. Globally, the virus has claimed 2.1 million lives and infected nearly 99 million people so far. More about coronavirus in this report.
As the world faces the challenges of mass vaccination and shortages, the fear of the mutant variants of COVID-19 is causing a fresh panic. UK's Prime Minister Boris Johnson has extended local councils' lockdown powers till July, after revealing that the new variant is not just more contagious, but more deadly as well. Britain has also imposed a 10-day essential quarantine from all arriving from the high-risk countries. Sweden too has banned all entries from Norway after the new strain was detected in the Norwegian capital. Over in the US, the number of COVID-19 cases is nearing 25 million. In a message, President Joe Biden assured all mayors of the country he is willing to work with them, shoulder to shoulder.
Now, as president, I'm going to work with you again in this moment of crisis to contain the pandemic and to build our economy back and build it back better. So as you meet with your teams during the winter meeting, be honest about what you need and how we can help work with you and get it done.
Italy and France are among the worst hit in European Union once again. However, a recent assessment has shown that the load on intensive care units in France has reduced. Over in New Zealand, health officials are investigating the country's first community coronavirus case in months.
We are working on the assumption that this is a positive case and that it is a more transmissible variant, either one of the one identified first in South Africa or the UK, or potentially Brazil, or another more transmissible variant. Given where we are in this global pandemic, the variants that are becoming more common are the ones that are more transmissible.
Meanwhile, India's huge coronavirus vaccination drive is lagging behind schedule. Government data shows 1/3 of the recipients are not showing up for appointments because of safety fears, technical glitches, and a belief that the pandemic is ending. Mainland China, meanwhile, reported 8 new COVID-19 cases overnight, down from 107 cases a day earlier.
Pakistan has welcomed COVAX's announcement of acquiring 150 million doses of COVID-19 vaccine in the first quarter. COVAX Alliance has pledged free vaccine for 20% of Pakistan's population. A spokesperson for the Ministry of National Health Services said it is a positive development. In an interview, the spokesperson expressed the hope Pakistan would get the vaccine in the current quarter. Meanwhile, the country has recorded 48 deaths from COVID-19 overnight, raising the total to 11,295. The health officials reported 1,594 new infections over the past 24 hours. The number of cases has risen to over 532,000, while more than 486,000 have recovered. Pakistan warrants a supply of advanced weapons is bolstering India's offensive doctrines into war-fighting strategies. Pakistan's UN envoy Khalil Hashmi says New Delhi's policies threaten peace in South Asia and beyond. Speaking at a conference on disarmament, Hashmi said India is driven by hyper-nationalism. He said New Delhi is pursuing policies of hegemony and domination over its neighbors. The ambassador slammed India for violating international law by locking down 8 million people in occupied Jammu and Kashmir. He said India has shut all means of communications in the occupied valley. The envoy added New Delhi has rejected calls for investigations into its human rights abuses in the territory. In India, more than 50 Congress workers and 5 policemen were injured in a clash during a protest march in Madhya Pradesh. The march was part of a 2-week program to show support for the farmers camping at Delhi borders. Police say the 110 party workers detained during the protest have been released. The opposition party says protesters were peacefully marching towards Governor House when police resorted to batons. Meanwhile, the unions have planned to mount pressure on the center through a tractor parade on Republic Day on January 26th. A farmer leader says around 300,000 tractors will participate in the rally. In the dead of winter, farmers have been protesting against controversial new laws across the country since November. The Afghan government has welcomed the Biden administration's decision to review a U.S. deal with the Taliban. Washington struck the deal in Qatar last year to begin withdrawing its troops in return for security guarantees. Afghanistan's acting Minister of State for Peace said the outcome of the review should be truce to end attacks in the country. In a video statement, Abdullah Khanjani said the Afghan people want an immediate stop to violence. Earlier, U.S. National Security Advisor Jake Sullivan said the review would assess the Taliban's ties with terrorist groups. A White House statement quoted Jake Sullivan as saying that Washington will support the Afghan peace process with a robust and regional diplomatic effort. In Russia, police detained over 1,000 people amid nationwide rallies in support of jailed opposition figure Alexei Navalny. His wife, Yulia Navalnaya, and a close aide are also among those detained. At least 40,000 people joined a protest in central Moscow, while rallies also took place in dozens of other cities and towns. They're calling for the immediate release of the Kremlin critic. Navalny was arrested on Sunday as he returned to Moscow for the first time since he was poisoned last year. Russian prosecutors say he violated parole terms of a suspended sentence for embezzlement, charges Navalny denies. In the United States, a Republican senator has warned the impeachment trial of Donald Trump could set a precedent of former president trials. The House of Representatives impeached Trump for incitement of insurrection over Capitol Hill riots. In a tweet directed at Senate Majority Leader Chuck Schumer, John Cornyn urged to do what is best for the country. Several Republican senators opposed the impeachment as Trump has left the office. Earlier, Schumer said Trump's trial in the Senate will begin next week. The lower house will deliver the impeachment article to the Senate on Monday. Trump is the first president in U.S. history to be impeached twice and the first to face trial after leaving office. In Venezuela, President Nicolas Maduro says he is willing to turn the page with the U.S. under President Joe Biden. Talking to supporters, Maduro called for a new path after years of tension with Donald Trump's White House. The leftist leader called for respect, dialogue, communication, and understanding in future ties. After Biden won the U.S. presidential election in November, Maduro congratulated the longtime politician. Caracas and Washington fully broke diplomatic ties on January 23, 2019, after years of a frosty relationship. And the U.S. government recognized opposition leader Juan Guaido as Venezuela's interim president. Venezuelan President Nicolas Maduro says a fire at one of the country's main oil pipelines was a result of the terrorist attack. Maduro said the attack sought to compromise Venezuela's fuel supplies, but he did not provide any further details of the incident. The country's refinery sector has been operating at a third of its capacity for months due to alleged mechanical problems.
Today, we suffered a terrorist attack in a pipeline in the west, which set off a large fire that has now been brought under control by the state petroleum company. The objective was to affect the fuel supply in the country.
Iran's president is going to sue his country's state broadcaster after he was accused of using drugs on national television. A cleric on television claimed the cabinet members cannot often reach the president as he is at home smoking opium. President Hassan Rouhani's Office of Legal Affairs said he will pursue defamation charges against the claimant. The spokesperson said what was broadcast was just shameless insults, slander, and foul language against the president. The Islamic Republic of Iran Broadcasting Corporation is controlled by the country's supreme leader, Ayatollah Ali Khamenei, and Bazorgi's Institute. In Tunisia, hundreds of people have marched in the capital city of Tunis against inequality and police brutality. The rally was taken out despite a government ban on demonstrations. Chanting popular Arab Spring slogans, the protesters said they will not accept a police state in Tunisia. Clashes were reported in poor districts of several cities, with police detaining hundreds of people. The protests have broken out 10 years after a popular revolt against autocratic rule introduced democracy in Tunisia. The country's economic crisis, unemployment, and lack of basic services have worsened following the COVID-19 crisis. More news stories coming up after the short break. Stay with us. Welcome back. Greece hopes Turkey will have a positive approach towards a meeting next week. The two sides will hold talks to revive long-stalled efforts for opening negotiations over disputed territorial claims. Greek Foreign Minister Nikos Dandias said the subject of the talks will be the demarcation of the exclusive economic zone. In an interview, he said continental shelf in the Aegean and the Eastern Mediterranean will also come under discussion. Athens wants to address only these two issues, but Ankara says all matters must be tackled, including airspace and the status of some Greek islands in the Aegean. A French non-governmental organization says it has rescued over 370 migrants off the coast of Libya. The SOS Mediterranean said its Ocean Viking aid vessel rescued the migrants in 2 days. It said a majority of the people aboard an inflatable rubble dinghy were found intoxicated by oil fumes. The NGO said the rescued include 21 babies, 35 children, and 131 unaccompanied minors. It said all survivors urgently need to disembark in a place of safety, but Libyan authorities have not answered to their request. The NGO mentioned the migrants came from Guinea, Sudan, and Sierra Leone. Saudi Arabia has opened its first drive-in movie theater in the capital city of Riyadh. This is a unique entertainment experience for the moviegoers amid strict measures against the pandemic. More in this report.
A homegrown chain, MUVI Cinemas, has opened up a pop-up movie theater in Riyadh. The facility has started featuring 3 showings per day. The movie theater can accommodate up to 150 cars while maintaining social distancing. Some moviegoers have described the experience as exceptional and enjoyable, especially in Riyadh winter.
Honestly, the experience of drive-in cinema is a great experience. I never expected that it will be like what I am seeing.
Who would have believed that this will be in Saudi Arabia? And yet, it's happening, thanks God.
Audience members are required to wear face masks. Viewers can buy food and drinks, but they have to take them in cars. The organizers say they have applied all the precautionary measures to ensure a safe environment for the employees and customers.
The most important thing is that we follow the precautionary measures to avoid COVID-19, and this idea is for citizens and residents to watch the movie and stay safe from COVID-19 at the same time.
Drive-in cinemas popped up in other parts of the Middle East since the outbreak of the coronavirus pandemic, with similar venues opening up in Dubai and Beirut early last year. Saudi Arabia has recorded over 365,000 coronavirus cases and more than 6,300 deaths so far.
A rare portrait made by Renaissance artist Sandro Botticelli is set to join the $100 million art club at an auction in New York. The 15th century art piece named Young Man Holding a Medallion is one of only around a dozen of his portraits known to survive today. Young Man Holding a Roundel was acquired by its present unidentified owner at an auction in 1982 in the United Kingdom. It shows an unknown young man dressed in a simple tunic with the blue sky behind him and holding a roundel or medallion. Sotheby's said the painting is one of the best unparalleled masterpieces by the Renaissance artist.
This transcends other paintings by Botticelli in studio that we've seen that have been on the market. This is a picture that is on a masterpiece level. And so when we were thinking about what the right sort of level and what sort of price is appropriate, we really looked at not other paintings by Botticelli because there's simply no other parallels in terms of condition, quality, perfection, let's say, and image.
Other notable works being put up to auction include Rembrandt's Abraham and the Angels. Sotheby's is expecting the piece to get $20 million to $30 million.
The other thing that I like about this picture is just the incredibly strong narrative sense that Rembrandt brings to bear. It's a very, gem-like size, but he uses the full force of composition, of light, dark, drama, brushwork to create this story. And the story itself, as I said, which is an Old Testament one, is a wonderful image and idea.
Also being put to auction is Autumn, a 1616 sculpture by father and son, Pietro Bernini and Gian Lorenzo. Sotheby's estimates the piece will go between $8 million to $12 million. The sales process began on Friday, will continue to the end of the month. For the latest updates, you can follow us on social media at Indus.news.